day, everyone, and welcome back to the Clever Report. It's just really Peter Clever. Today, we're going to talk about the Paraguay Senator Camila Amarilla. The game of football, the World Cup has given us so much memories. The retirement of Ronaldo potentially from international football, the magnificence of Messi and everything. But there is a very, very dark situation that is happening. During the match against Paraguay, typical footballers, they were bantering each other. They were saying certain, SHIT shits about each other during the match. They were, going back and forth. The goalkeeper was complaining that he extended his hands during the end of the match to greet Mbappe, but Mbappe declined, the French captain, and other things. These are the normal and random things that happen in football, especially when tensions are high, when somebody is losing. When somebody is winning, the person sometimes tends to turn to the other person. Yes, sometimes it's unsportsmanlike, but these are things that happen in football. When you're cheering for your opponent or when you're cheering for your own fans, your opponent might see it as you're disrespecting he or she or him, basically in men's football. So if you see there's a clip of Mbappe, towards the end of the match and trying to waste time, and you see Paraguayan players getting in his face, trying to, be hostile to him. This is just part of the game. It happens multiple places, Champions League finals and stuff. When you're losing, you're unhappy. So after the end of the game and everything, Mbappe was, the sentiment around the French team was that the Paraguayans were playing dirty, and it was so obvious. These South American, players, they are so physical. They challenge the French players physically. Technically, the French players were better, but the physical battle was basically won by the Paraguayan players, or even across this tournament, the South American contingents. These countries from South America. But what made the headline was a senator from the left-wing party in Paraguay actually made certain remarks after what happened. I want to read the statement she made, against the French captain. She said, and I quote, "Colonized Cameroonian, pretending hard to be French, resentful, newly rich, arrogant, and ugly. He was nervous and scared, deadly stiff the whole match, just like this whole team. They couldn't score a single goal. They won by a fluke. The only thing many of us demand from the Abarajua, the Paraguayan team, is to have him giving an open-handed slap after the match was over. I'm not even a football fan." And she went on to say, "Boots didn't even learn how to write. Instead of breast milk, he sucked on coconuts, and most educated creatures he's ever listened to were chimpanzees. You should have shown him the finger. Orlando Gil, Paraguayan keeper. I'll do it in the Senate and nothing happens." This is crazy. These are the things. So people make comments like this, and then when the backlash comes, they'll pretend, if they are women, they'll pretend that it's gender-based violence. They pretend that you're being, very, very negative towards them. But she made this kind of statement, talking about how he's French colonized and making the reference to chimpanzees and stuff. These are the same people, these left-wing people. These are the same things they criticize people when people make jokes. This is an illustration. This is not even jokes. When people make what they seem as or what they deem as racist jokes, they call you out. They demand for you to be, to be fired from your job. They demand you to retire or resign from your job. But she says this kind of things without any form of backlash. So the French captain Mbappe, replied. He said, "Madame Celeste Amarilla, you're a despicable human. You're a despicable woman and unworthy of your position. You do not represent Paraguay, that country which has sweated passion and honor throughout the competition. Through your recklessness and your brazen racism, the entire world has already forgotten the journey and the historic efforts that your players accomplished during this World Cup, making way for an incompetent woman who gives the worst possible image of our country. I will never allow people like her the freedom to spread the hatred and racism across the world." Yes, kudos to Mbappe for not, generalizing and thinking this woman, this weird woman, is somehow the average or the accurate representation of the people of Paraguay. I love the fact that he made the distinction between this woman and the Paraguayan, general in the Paraguayan people in general. And the government of Paraguay has put out a statement condemning this woman. FIFA has done the same thing. And also, the French president came and backed the French captain, calling out what this woman said. But instead of this woman being remorseful, I know freedom of speech. Yes, I'm a freedom of speech absolutist. I don't. I will fight for her right to say what she has to say, so that people will understand and know who she is and what her values are. But if there was no freedom of speech, nobody will know that she's a racist. I'm on this channel. I'm somebody that I don't like a situation whereby people cry wolf when there's no obvious racism or any racial aspect of something being said. But everybody knows this is so obvious. This is objective that she was being racist. She made a further statement saying, in response to what Mbappe said and the public backlash, she actually had to delete the former statement. And instead of being remorseful or saying that maybe what she said was in the spirit of being angry on how the football match unraveled and everything, no, she had to double down. This is her statement. She said, and I quote, "Now I demand that you also retract your statement and apologize to me. Really, I too will not tolerate your violence. You do not know me. You have no idea who I am, and you have no right to say that I'm a despicable woman unworthy of the office I hold. I am a senator of the Paraguayan nation, elected by the people. Who are you to call me unworthy or despicable when you don't even know me? Pure and simple gender violence, political violence against a woman who got where she is by popular vote of her people. You despise me precisely because of my gender. You offend me precisely because I am a woman. You are not attacking my skin color, my preference, my status as a woman, you know, or my political position. Retract your statement with me. Honor your French citizenship. Apologize, or I may take legal action for gender violence." This is crazy. This is the clown world we live in right now. Somebody made an obvious racist remark against a footballer. He replied by calling her despicable and unworthy of her position. For her to have such a high position in the Paraguayan political, ecosystem, but she's going around, making racist remarks against another person when she herself is, a Latino, and there's this sentiment in the world that Latinos have been, on the receiving end of racism from the evil white men, as they will say. But now she's making it about her gender. This is the problem. This is what happens in this 21st century of women in these positions. You say something when you're held accountable for your actions, and you claim racism. Either you claim racism or you claim gender-based violence, and threatening to sue Mbappe for gender-based violence. This is crazy. This is the clown world we live in. That the fact that this woman made these racist remarks against the French captain, and when she's been called out on her remarks, firstly she deleted it, but she had to double down, and say that there's a clip where she was speaking in Spanish, saying that people are used to be calling black people certain things, very, very derogatory things she said in that clip.
¿Se ratifica entonces en ahora de sus dichos? ¿Va a pedir disculpas como plantea Mbappé?
Mbappé no me pidió disculpas y tampoco tengo por qué dárselas. Yo ya escribí lo que tenía que escribir.
Criterio suyo, senadora, estos dichos de que de leche materna, pava cocos y lo más instruido que eran chimpancés.
Me retracté.
O racismo.
Borré el post. Claro que es.
Y esa comunidad afrodescendiente y no a Mbappé.
Todos le doy. Fue un desatino, es un patrón que detesto en realidad. Lo aprende una persona de 62 años que vive en aquella sociedad mundial de decir negro de mierda era lo más usual. Vengo de esa generación tremenda, de la divorciada, era estigmatizada y silenciada. Los hijos de una señora de bien no tienen que juntarse con los hijos de la... Vengo de esa sociedad. Me estoy deconstruyendo. Yo estoy construyéndome y construyendo una nueva amarilla capaz de convivir 30 años después. Tenganme paciencia. Yo estoy haciendo un esfuerzo.
So now, she's claiming racism. She's claiming, misogyny, that Mbappe is not respecting her position as a woman. She got there by her sheer, competency, and not because of her gender. But you said all these things, when you say all these despicable things about him, and he never attacked you or your characteristics as a woman or as a senator, but he attacked your personality as a person, as being a vile person in today's highly politically charged world that we live in. But instead of being remorseful about what you did, you went down to double down on misogyny and gender-based violence. This is the problem. This is why people don't take women seriously. This is why people don't want women serving in these, serious political positions. When they are criticized, even any mild criticism of women in these positions, they cry misogyny and gender-based violence. This is not what we live in. This is the clown world we live in the 21st century. It's either you are equal to men, that when you criticize somebody and you're criticized back, or even when you are bantered in a colloquial way of putting it, you don't come out and claim that people are saying these things about you just because you're a woman, especially when they are attacking your personality and not your gender or your chromosomes. for God's sake. I'm so angry. This is just crazy. I'm sorry for rattling up and stuff, but this is crazy. We live in a clan world where people claim equality or even claim that they are bigger than men in certain areas. But when they receive a little bit of that equality, they claim gender-based violence. And that is all I'm going to say about that. And I just want you to know that this one is not the accurate representation of Paraguayans all over the world. The government has distanced itself from her statements, and I hope the people of Paraguay, many of them, are coming out to distance themselves from what she said. That's all I'm going to say about that. So make sure you like, subscribe, turn on post notifications so you'll be notified anytime I drop another video. I love you, but God loves you more. Until next time, peace.